Assalamualaikum and good day, everyone. I would like to continue with our class this week, and the focus will be on marketing environment. Okay, this is an important start of an activity when you want to offer the value of a product, especially maybe you want to venture into a new business. So you should be doing some form of analysis of the environment, probably to look for opportunities and to really look into if there's any specific trends, requirements, and then the idea is of course to look for opportunities. Okay. But if you are already maybe an established company that you've been doing your business for some time, so it will be good to continuously uh, do your environment or situation analysis continuously as part of your regular activity, because you need to see, besides looking for opportunities, you might want to also look for any potential threats that are there in the market. And another thing that you also would have to look into would be, of course, to study the strengths and weaknesses of your own company in probably in fulfilling either those opportunities or trying to counter the threats that the organization is facing from external. Okay. Um, but for this particular class, of course, because you do not have any specific business that we are linking to for the current project for the course. Uh, most the focus would be, especially when it comes to the final project that you are doing for the class, the focus will be on looking for opportunities. Okay, and even what you have done in your pet business project also, one of the things that you have to look into will be, of course, the changes in the environment that will create the opportunity for the pet business. Okay, so let's just look into what are the expected outcome for this particular topic. Yeah, so you'll be looking into the environmental forces that will actually have an impact on your company's ability to serve the customers. And you also will be able to look into the changes in some of the economic factors, the economic environment, and demographic factors that will have influence on your marketing decisions. Identify the major trends in the natural and technological environment, looking into the key changes in the political and cultural environment, and finally, how should company react to changes in the marketing environment. So these are the learning outcomes for this particular topic. Okay, so what are the environmental forces? Yeah, what does it mean by the company's marketing environment? Okay, this marketing environment is defined as actors and forces outside marketing that affect the marketing management's ability to build and maintain successful relationship with target customers. So in other words, here you're not just looking at maybe people, but also some of the kind of forces that is affecting the marketing's ability to do the marketing activities. So this is what we meant by the marketing environment. And as I stated earlier, that we have to continuously monitor this environment to ensure that we would continuously uh, um, either be successful or continuously in existence and having growth for the future of the organization. Okay. All right. There are two parts of this marketing environment. The first one is what we call as micro environment, and the second would be macro environment. So what's the difference between these two? Microenvironment consists of the actors close to the company that affect its ability to serve its customers. So when you say it's close, the probability is that any activities that you do as a company could have impact on some of these actors because they're very close to you, and vice versa, meaning that anything that they do or anything that happened to them could have impact on you because these are the ones which are closest to you. So what are these actors that are closest to the company? It includes the company itself, within the company itself, and we'll talk about that. Suppliers, marketing intermediaries, customer markets, competitors, and public. Okay, so we will. This is one of the things that we're discussing next. But before that, I would like to define the macro environment. These are the larger societal forces. Okay, that means these are extremely large forces that could appear and surround the organization, or is already there in the environment of the organization. Okay, so that includes demographic, economic, natural, technological, political, and also cultural forces. Okay, so coming back to the microenvironment, okay. Um, so as we said, these are the actors that are closest to the company, and you can see there are the ones which are the closest to company is one, the company itself. That means you you're looking into um, the various departments, yeah, the various departments within the organization which is outside marketing. Okay, what could happen, for example, marketers will be doing a lot of planning and looking into potentials, but it has to be supported by other departments. That means the top management in terms of probably encouraging innovation, encouraging product improvements, for example, finance, putting up resources into those new company. So remember from last week, we talked about the star product or star brands, which needs more money in order to control the market further. But also we have the question mark brands where you also need investments in order to have better growth. That means in terms of its market share, for example, market share penetration. So all those requires money, especially when you want to do a lot of promotion. So also if you need product improvements, for example, involvement of R&D departments also very important, and purchasing of maybe new items, new technology, new products would assist in improvements of product and processes, and then of course operations, the production of physical products itself, or even processing of a particular service, and finally accounting. Okay, so in terms of the bookkeeping of whatever activities that you do. So all these other departments which are not marketers directly is supposed to support the activities of marketing. So if not, it could what do you call this? If marketers are good that they want to do new products but not supported by other departments, so you cannot proceed further. Okay, so that would actually be a weakness to you. So if you don't have enough money, that means the ones in finance are not able to support, then of course that is also detrimental to the marketers in doing their marketing activities. Okay. So in other words, typically maybe you need better collaboration between various departments. There's always a possibility that for some companies, they get other departments involved, and it's a new product development process in order to ensure that they are aware about what's going on, and then they also probably will be more supportive. Yeah. Okay. The next one, the next microenvironment factor are the suppliers. Okay. So suppliers, and of course the next one are actually intermediaries. Yeah, so suppliers are the ones that provide the materials and parts, or supplies of whatever you're trying to sell, for example, to your customers. Yeah, but intermediaries is the other side, meaning that they are the ones that will sell the products on your behalf. So what I would like to share with you, these two actually plays an important role in what we call as value network. Okay, I think we did some discussion about this last week. So the value network, imagine if you are let's say, a manufacturer here, and then you have the wholesalers here. So maybe this is wholesaler one, wholesaler two, And then these are actually here, these first two are actually your resellers or intermediaries, and then you also have the retail stores, which is also your intermediaries, and then only is the final user of the product or the end user of the product, who actually the consumer. So the suppliers are here. They are supplying this maybe raw materials and parts depending on where you are. If you're the manufacturer, these are your suppliers. Yeah. So, in order to ensure that if you're the manufacturer, that the value that you're trying to sell to your end user, it has to have some form of consistency in terms of the value offering. So your suppliers has to supply certain quality of the raw materials or parts that you require to ensure that it will reach to your consumer at the end, as how you envision it to be. For example, imagine if you're like like you like Starbucks, for example, and then your suppliers, like your beans has to be of certain quality. Otherwise, when the consumers are drinking a cup of coffee here, it wouldn't taste as how you want it to be. So it has to be consistently, and as it goes through certain whole whatever your intermediaries are. Even imagine that these are some of the restaurants that are serving the coffee to the end users. They will have to have they will have to maintain the quality of the beans to ensure that this would happen and customers are happy with the taste of the coffee. Okay, so this has to be done throughout that whole value chain, and that's why as we said, the suppliers and also the intermediaries here is very important to you as a marketer, because uh, they are part of that whole value network that is working with you. And if any of them, for example, are not functioning well, for example, maybe here there are some issues on logistics, so therefore products could not be delivered to your end user as according to the time that is being required. Okay, so that's how it could have an impact overall to your organization when any part of this are not working really well. So imagine, even if, for example, you want to do simple things like selling something on the roadside. Let's say selling keropok leko, the fish crackers, yeah. And you, of course, sometimes when you are the reseller, you do not produce the product because probably that's not your expertise. So it depend on a particular manufacturer, for example, here. But if you are selling, and then that is, somewhat they actually have this inconsistency quality of their product, and that will jeopardize your activities of selling to the end users here. Okay, so that's why um, it's very important if you are selling a product that is already manufactured, for example, to ensure that your suppliers here would be producing consistent quality of the product, so that you would be able to sort of um, ensure or guarantee that there will be some consistency on the product that you are, let's say, frying out and selling it to your customers. Okay, so that is why these suppliers and intermediaries are very important to you. And as I said, any microenvironment factors, if anything happened to them, it will have impact on you directly. Okay. So these are examples of resellers. So it may include also, as I've showed you, those are actually the these are the warehouses and the retail stores, but you can also have the transporters here. For example, the logistics company, okay, that are actually sending your products to various intermediaries in the whole channel. And then, but you can also have the financial intermediaries. These are the ones that give you finance in between the whole distribution between one party to another. Okay, and then you can even have your marketing services agencies. These are the ones probably like either buying agent or selling agents on your behalf. So anything that happened to them could have impact on you, okay, positively or negatively. Then you have competitors. Definitely, this is always a challenge For example, that we always have this rivalry between Coca-Cola and Pepsi. We also have the rivalry between certain brands of, let's say, coffee, like Starbucks versus some other competing coffee cafes here in Malaysia. We also have competition of instant noodles between Maggi and maybe um, what do you call this, other brands like Mami and also Indomie in the market. Okay, so any action by the competitors, either they increase the price or reduce the price, would somewhat have an impact on businesses, especially in when like you've got products like that, which is considered as staple as people food that people eat regularly. So it could have impact on competing brands when product is lowered down. So if you learn economics, you have to go back to all those market structure that you've learned before, let's say pure competition, monopoly competition, monopoly, and what are the impact on others, or even the company itself when price are changed within the industry or the market. Okay, so this is how you linked it to some of these what do you call this, change in the competing environment. Yeah. And then the next one is of the microenvironment is the public. Okay, so public could be any group that has an actual or potential interest in or impact on the organization's ability to achieve its objectives. So we have sometimes the financial publics, people who are interested with investments, they are maybe investors, so they'll be interested with any news or any activities that you do, especially those who are into, let's say, share market. Okay, they're very interested with what are the things that you're doing. Then we have the media publics. These are the ones which are actually writing. You have the bloggers. They are doing things independently. You may also have those Instagrammers, especially now we have a lot of this. Then this can be formal or even informal news media in the social media. Yeah. Okay. Then you have the government public. These are maybe the government agencies are very interested with the things that you do, and vice versa, and also the citizen action publics. So it doesn't have to be government. So sometimes you might have organizations like NGOs, especially NGOs or political bodies that may be interested with the things that you do, and then and looking at your activities. Okay, then the local publics. These are probably the people that is living around you, and and we have seen, for example, cases where uh, things that is being done by some of the uh, businesses could have impact on those local publics, and they might be angry, especially if it's negative results to the people around them. But then, it could be something which is positive. For example, when the businesses goes into a certain location, it will create better jobs or more jobs to the general public, for example. So local publics, those are community surrounding the businesses, but general public can be the whole population of a particular country. Well, could be interested with the things that you do because it can be something which they are passionate of, or is something like they give creates opportunities for them, and therefore they would really pay a lot of attention to your organization. And then finally, the internal publics. These are actually the people that is within the organization. Okay, that's probably part of the organization itself. So um, and some of you can see some marketers actually, especially if it's involving services. So they put a lot of priority into the staff, and to ensure that whenever staffs are happy, they say they will actually create good services. So these are probably some of the things that you have to monitor, uh, and to see whether there are actually any threats. And then if, for example, like if any threats from the media publics attacking your product or your activities, probably you have to work on your public relations. Or sometimes some blunders that some organization have done. For example, we've seen a lot of sometimes some blunders, some statements that they put out, some promotion that is probably not fitting to the norms of or the ethical conduct of the location or the population. So therefore, it has to be addressed by the public relations in within the organization. Okay, so this is how public could have an impact on your activities, and you've seen this. Sometimes it can be very detrimental, as such that you'd have to stop your production or operations because of consciousness or some of the criticism from some of this public. Yeah. Okay. The next one, the last of the micro environment factors will be your customers. Definitely, this one here is very important because they are the ones who are actually buying your product. And we have several categories of customers. We have the consumer market. Okay, this is the one that I showed to you earlier. Remember this? At the end on the right side, these are the end users of the product. But you also have your customers here. Let's say you're manufacturers, you have your customers here. These are your customers, but these are the end user of your product. Yeah. So what does it mean by these different types of markets? Remember, I told you markets is about people. Okay, I have defined it as about people, nothing to do with the supermarket or night market. It's not a physical location. It is the current and potential customers of your product. So if you have the consumer market, it's actually the end user. That means they're using the product for their own household consumption, for their own consumption. It's not meant for reselling. Okay, so to be very clear about the term consumer, it's a very special term. In other words, for example, if your business market, then it's the sort of customers that are actually buying your product for other reasons, not for their own consumption. They're buying it for reselling, renting, for future production, to create services for other people. So that's considered as business market. So business market, this different than consumer market. Okay, for example, like you buy sugar, and then you buy sugar, and then you turn it into syrup. Yeah, and then if you offer the syrup to the end user, meaning that people who come to your house, okay, so in other words, sorry, you are the end user, so you offer people who's coming to your house syrup drink. So you consider as a consumer market. But if you use a syrup to sell the drink in a pasar malam or night market, and then you're considered as a business market. And reseller market, these are the ones who buy product for reselling specifically, like your retail stores. These are resellers. Okay, and then you have the government market. They are categorized differently. Consumer market, because the government market especially would have different sort of processes, order processing, application, depending on the regulation of the government bodies or agencies. And finally, international market. These are the ones that you're trying to capture, which is beyond your domestic market. What would happen is that probably, let's say, there are many reasons why we go international, which we're going to cover this in the last class of the semester. But there are many reasons why you go international. Sometimes I have seen that the reason why they go international because they want to have certain quality of the product in the mind of the local customers. So the moment they see that this product have the ability to be exported, then they will have a good review of that product, because they might just think that it has certain standards that is comparable to the international products that are there in the market already. Okay, so and sometimes you have to go international because your market is already saturated, so it's very difficult to sell or to grow your revenue, because the market has reached its max, so you can't sell more than whatever that is already being sold. Yeah. Okay. Those are the micro environment factors. Now going forward, we're going to go